Hello, my name is Nicole, and today I'll be presenting my TOK presentation on the topic regarding to knowledge. We view the world with very different perspective of our own, and of course, you can argue this because our brain work differently. But what's the reason that our brain work differently? What are some factors that affect how we think and perceive information, and which will eventually transforming into knowledge? Let's talk about my real life situation. My real life situation was found on the BBC cultural page. It was a travel photographer, Matthew Braun, took a photo of a 700-year-old sculpture swallowed by tree roots. This picture was taken at a 14th century Buddhist temple, and the temple was sacked in 1767 by an invading Burmese army and left in ruins. This scene presents a sense of the tree and the sculpture becoming one, and nature slowly eradicating every trace left by the Asian sculptor who created the ruined statue of the Buddha almost 700 years ago. And as for the reason of why I chose this topic is because it is regarding a discussion on our understanding of knowledge and other aspects of knowledge as well. I find this topic very fascinating because um, the creation of knowledge happens in every single moment in our life, and but we often ignore the process of it because it comes so natural to us, and we forget to dig deeper in meaning. And why is this topic significant? Um, I want to talk about why this topic is important. The article sparked great interest in me while I was reading it, and as discussed previously, one of the reasons that I think this topic is significant as far as it is very it is a value for TOK presentation and it is significant also because of the concept of the topic. It applies to all areas of knowledge and touches on several ways of knowing as well. Therefore, I extracted the key term knowledge from my real life situation and made it into a knowledge question, but that is not my final version of it. It was, can only human create art at first, but then I realized that this is not broad enough that it leaves very little room for me to explore further from it. A knowledge question should not be limited to one area of knowledge, but it should be able to apply to all. So I change it from art to knowledge, since knowledge is what I really mean and it is a wider aspect of it. So the final version of the knowledge question is, can only people create knowledge? And my first answer to my knowledge question is no, not only people create knowledge. And my first example is um, knowledge creation can take many forms and serve many purposes. I think it's important to know what knowledge really is before answering your question. And one of its most important functions of knowledge is to enable further knowledge creation. And that is what gives science and other progressive disciplines their dynamic character. For example, one of my other real life situation serves for the evidence purpose to my first claim is that the Darwin's theory of evolution. His evolution theory answered the question of how species originate, but the concept of natural selection plays a much larger role, which is without nature itself, this theory were never to be created. Therefore, it proved that nature can create knowledge first, and then in Darwin's example, human is only to some extent a gateway or platform to carry all the meaning of that knowledge. Um, by that I mean nature is already a knowledge itself that it is already existing and human not necessarily give a meaning to it, but it's only carrying out what we've been observing and what we think it is. So that's why nature itself is knowledge. And now I want to achieve my claim not only human creates knowledge from a different perspective with animal being my proof. So every time you solve a problem, you create knowledge of a sort. But to be credited as a valid knowledge creation, your solution must meet additional criteria. It has to have some value to others other than the creator of the knowledge. And its value must endure for some time beyond the moment. It must have application beyond the situation that gave rise to it. And it must display some creativity to it as well. Similarly, I can apply that to animals. On a online article I found called "Are Animals as Smart or as Dumb as We Think They Are?" It stated that our understanding of and feelings for and against different species seem to be linked to our cultural and personal prejudice. We have compassion for those closely related to us. Therefore, we think mammals are more intelligent, maybe bird. We think mammals are more intelligent than birds or reptiles or insects. Um, and while we think of less related species, as I said previously, like insects or bugs, we like to think they are non-thinking machines. But the reality is that intelligence is a complex concept. It's difficult to find and to define and hard to perceive because it is not based on our own abilities. For example, squirrels fake hide and seek when they know others are watching it. And all this means is that we should remind ourselves that we're animals living in a world with other animals. Or back to squirrel example, they solve a problem of their own, they hide seeds and they hide it. And that's a solution to their problem of not having enough food during winter time. And which means that it is knowledge to the squirrel, the species, and to us as well, because we human recognize this behavior, and we see it, then we recognize it as a knowledge to our own. Finally, the last counterclaim or the last perspective of achieving this knowledge question is yes, only human can create knowledge. Because I am talking about right now, if the question that I'm asking, can only human create knowledge, is based on the fact that we have the ability to think, and based on the definition that we gave to knowledge. What is knowledge? And similarly, all that we have defined and all that we observe is only based on the features that's unique to human beings. And to conclude, as a conclusion to this presentation, I gave three different approaches to the knowledge question. The first one being that not only human can create knowledge, and I gave the evidence of nature being a source of our knowledge. And for the second one, the answer is also no, not only can create knowledge, but this time I gave the evidence of animals, and the evidence being that animals, we human is another kind of animals, and so we don't really behave differently. And by that, animals other than human have their own ways of knowing and then their knowledge too. So not only people, human can create knowledge. And the last one is that yes, only human can create knowledge, and by that I mean it in a way that because all that we're thinking and even the term knowledge is based on how we think, how human and people think what knowledge is, and how we perceive this world. So again, there's a lot more different perspective that can be answered to this knowledge question, and I only acknowledge three of them, but there's definitely more to it. And the main theme of this presentation is knowledge. And again, I think there's many different forms to the definition of what is knowledge, and knowledge serves many different purposes as well. So there really shouldn't be just one answer to this question. And as I explained before, that I really think there's different approaches to this question, and it is important for us to keep in mind that there are so many various form of thinking and perspectives, and if we go for any of them, the result and the answer to the knowledge question will be much different. Thank you.